And the topic of the third speech is the nutrition and the cognitive impairment in the Taiwan Initiative for Geriatric Epidemiology Research, called the Tiger Cohort, a 14 years cohort study, and delivered by the Professor Chen Yen-Ching. Professor Chen, since 2017, holds his position at the Institution of the Epidemiology and the Preventive Medicine, College of Public Health, National Taiwan University. And Professor Chen got his PhD degree from the Harvard School of Public Health in Harvard University. And Dr. Chen, her research institute was the genetic and the environmental and the genomic epidemiology on cognition, dementia, frailty, and the sarcopenia. So let's give the big applause to welcome the Professor Chen Yen-Ching.
Thank you very much for Director Zhou's introduction. Good afternoon. I'm Karen Chen from National Taiwan University. It is my great pleasure to introduce our study on nutrition and cognitive impairment in Taiwan Initiative for Geriatric Epidemiological Research, which is abbreviated as TIGER. This is a 14-year prospective cohort study. So dementia has been selected by WHO, World Health Organization, as a priority of public health in. Is it clear now? Excellent, thank you. So let's start again. Dementia has been selected by WHO as a priority of public health in 2012. And it is a syndrome characterized by memory loss, cognitive change, and illusion, etc. There are more than 10 subtypes of dementia and divided by their cause. The leading one is called Alzheimer's disease, which accounts for 50 to 60% of dementia, followed by vascular dementia and several other types. The annual conversion rate from mild cognitive impairment to Alzheimer's disease is about 10% in the clinical setting and about 5% in the community setting. So as we can see the brain cross-section here, the left-hand side is the normal brain, and the right-hand side is the brain of the Alzheimer's patients. So Taiwan is now in the transition from the aged society to the super aged society. So the older adults in our population is close to 20%. We will go to super aged society next year. The prevalence of mild cognitive impairment ranges from 14% to 23%, with an average of about 19% in older adults. For the prevalence of dementia ranges from 2% to about 30%, and with an average of about 8% in older adults. So dementia is the 8th cause of death in people aged 85 or older in Taiwan, but has not yet moved to the top 10 for older adults older than 65 or older. So the dementia population has been doubled in Taiwan in the past 20 years, and the rate is much faster than other areas in the world. So let's take a look at the figure. This one shows the continuum of Alzheimer's disease. The x-axis indicates the year or age. Y-axis indicates cognitive function. So for people with normal aging is the solid line, we can see the cognitive function goes down slowly. But for people who will progress to dementia, it will start from the preclinical stage and gradually move to mild cognitive impairment and then dementia. So my research is actually focused on preclinical and mild cognitive impairment, as we are hoping that we can prevent dementia in the earlier stage. So this slide shows the modifiable risk factor for dementia, which has been updated this year and published in Lancet. Among all these factors, in midlife, there's some factor more related to nutrition that I highlighted with red. For example, like high LDL cholesterol and diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and excessive alcohol intake. And there are several other factors in the late life as well. So now I'd like to introduce our cohort, Taiwan Initiative for Geriatric Epidemiological Research, which is abbreviated as TIGER. So this study started from 2011, and we follow up every 2 years. And now we are in the 10-year follow-up. And because of the participants' attrition due to loss to follow-up, so we have another phase. The second phase of TIGER started from 2019, and we recruit another 600 of older adults. So our study recruited non-demented older adults. They are aged 65 or older from community. And importantly, we have over 1,000 of interdisciplinary variables. That's the most important part of this study. So this is our current wave. So after we established TIGER for 13 years, we finally published our cohort profile this June. And this our TIGER cohort have 2 phases, as I just mentioned. We have a total of about 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a very good number to remember, right? And at baseline, the mean age is about 73, and with an annual attrition rate of 6%, which is much lower than the average of other similar cohorts around the world. So this is very difficult, but we are very glad we made it. So for cognitive assessment, as I just mentioned, because we are aiming at the earlier stage before dementia, so we use a multiple neuropsychological test. For global cognition, we use a Taiwanese version of Montreal Cognitive Assessment. We call it MOCA-T. And for cognitive domain, we use the 9 tests, and which encompass memory, attention, verbal fluency, and the executive function, these 4 domains. So for the dietary part, we use a 44-item semi-quantitative food frequency questionnaire for Taiwanese. This is from Professor Mei-Shen Lee. And the intake period is 1 year before baseline and each follow-up. So which means we have repeated measure on the diet data. And we collect both frequency and the portion size of each food in order to convert them to standardize the daily consumption. So in order to have a better understanding of research from TIGER, so I would like to start with some earlier studies and then progress to more recent finding. So the first study is about dietary pattern and cognition. This study we use data-driven, that is a posterior approach. The second one, we explore dietary quality and vegetable variety and cognition. This one, we use a hypothesis-driven approach, or we call it a priori approach. The most recent one is exploring trajectory of dietary quality and cognition, and we are hoping to figure out the temporal relationship between them. Okay, so here is the first study. We explored dietary pattern and the cognition. So because previous studies showed inconsistent finding in nutrients among older adults, so we are thinking maybe dietary pattern might be a way to resolve this issue. And also there's a significant differences between Western and the Eastern diet. In our population, we found that that actually not many people eat a Mediterranean diet that much. And so we are thinking maybe we need to find our own dietary pattern. So this study is trying to explore the relationship between dietary intake, especially identify the dietary pattern for Taiwanese older adults in relation to specific cognitive domain, which is less explored because previous study mainly focused on either global cognition or specific limited cognitive domain. So we have a total of 10 tests. so we can have extensive exploration assessment on cognitive function. So this is the way we process our dietary data based on the 44 item FFQ I mentioned earlier. We collapse them into 24 food groups, and then we use the unsupervised exploratory factor analysis to identify 3 dietary patterns. So this is for the first time. We identified the dietary patterns for Taiwanese older adults in relation to cognition. And this table shows the factor loading of these 3 dietary patterns. We identify vegetable, meat, and the traditional patterns. Among them, the traditional pattern is the most special one. I will explain later. So the number in the table the number in the table is factor loading, which indicate the correlation between the food group with the corresponding dietary pattern. So we use those food group with a high factor loading to naming that dietary pattern. So this pattern we call vegetable because of their high factor loading, and this one called meat, which include meat, poultry, and roasted meat. And the traditional one is the most special one because it has never been identified before, which include pickled vegetables and fermented food. So we call it traditional. And the cumulative variance of these 3 dietary patterns is up to 26%. So this one shows our main finding. And for food comes from for food in the first vegetable pattern, they are rich in vitamin C, E, folate or flavonoid, etc. These are antioxidant, and while we cooking, if we use oil, which will facilitate the absorption of vitamin E and the flavonoid. And however, so we can see the protective effect here. That is, when we eat more vegetable, the memory performance is better, the blue line. But however, in contrast, we found eat more vegetable is not good to executive function. So we speculate that it is possible that for people with foreseeable health concern, he or she may change to diet with more vegetable. So this is our speculation, and we hope more study can replicate our finding. So for meat is rich in protein, saturated fat, and vitamins, and some essential nutrients. But the vitamin can be destroyed while cooking, and the fat still remained. So, however, in contrast, the protein intake can decrease the risk of frailty and sarcopenia. So we can see the protective effect of meat on the. It's good to the attention performance. However, it increases the risk of verbal fluency impairment. It is possible attributable from the saturated fat. So the last one is the most special one, as I just mentioned. We have this pattern include fermented food and the pickled vegetables, which are rich in these vitamins, and they are very good to gut microbiota. So they can increase the intestinal health and immunity, etc. So in summary, so this is the first time we identify a traditional dietary pattern for our Taiwanese, Chinese elderly. So I think more study need to replicate our finding in order to provide dietary suggestions for primary prevention to Taiwanese older adults. Okay, so now let's move to the second study. It's about dietary quality, vegetable variety, and the cognition. This work is mainly done by my doctoral student, Dr. Zhou. And this is the reason we can conduct this study because previously most study focused on Western population. And the dietary pattern is, I just find in the earlier stage study, it's very difficult to compare across different geographical countries, regions, or countries. It is because the differences in food item and cooking styles and or dietary habits. So therefore, this study is aiming to explore the association between diet quality and the vegetable variety on cognition in older adults. So in this study, we used the modified alternative healthy eating index, abbreviated MAHEI, to assess the diet quality. This index with a maximum score of 70, and it includes the 7 components. But here we made some modification in the third component. We removed the nuts because in our population, the older people not eat nuts that often in our population. So as we can see, for people not taking these food, they get there's a ratio of fish to meat and egg. So this means the red meat, compared to the white meat compared to red meat, and also these indicate the saturated fat. So when people consume low level, then the score can be 0. But for fried food, it's different. The more a person eat, the higher, the lower the score. The lower the score. And for alcohol consumption is also different. It is a range. For people who drink alcohol within a range, then the person get the highest score. So the total score is 70. The second one is vegetable variety. It is an index created by ourselves with a maximum score of 5, which include 5 items. The first one is the spinach and broccoli, and the other dark green, red, orange vegetable, total starch, and other vegetables. For people not eat any of this vegetable, get 0, and if they take 1 cup equivalent per week, then they got the score of 1. So the total is 5. So both index, the higher the score, actually indicate better, higher diet quality and a greater vegetable variety. So this is our main finding. We found that for older adults whose diet quality is the highest compared with the lowest level, and their global cognition is actually performed better because the odds ratio is less than 1. And after we stratified by vegetable variety, we found that this association only remained in those with high vegetable variety. So which means in the future, if we are trying to explore the association between dietary quality and the cognition, maybe we can consider to include vegetable variety because it may play an important role. And the third one is the most recent study. It's about the trajectory of diet quality and the cognition. The reason we're doing that because our earlier study is relatively short, and most study in the world is actually either cross-sectional or use baseline diet data. So now we have longitudinal data on diet and also cognition. So we are hoping to explore the association of diet quality trajectory with cognitive performance in Taiwanese older adults. So this research, we use much longer data. We use baseline follow-up 1, 2, 3, and it's up to 6 years. So interestingly, as you can see, at baseline, the age is 73. And at the end of the follow-up, the age is already 79, which is already approached the expected life expectancy of, at least for men, is already over the men's life expectancy. So they are very old, very old. So this data is very interesting. So in order to, because the heterogeneous nature in older adults, so we identify 3 dietary quality trajectory in Tiger cohort. And the first is a deteriorating trajectory. And you can see this, which is in red. This trajectory goes down steadily. And the second one is improving trajectory, and the diet quality gradually increase. For the last one is a stable high. The diet quality remains quite stable over time. So the later statistical analysis we will use a stable high as the reference group. So this is the characteristic of our study participant at the time of the outcome. So as we can see, this is the total, and these are the three trajectory. It's interestingly, in the deteriorating trajectory, we found that older adults have a quite high BMI, and their depressive symptom, the prevalence is actually 0. So we guess that these people might be those who eat what they want. They don't worry about anything. So that's why their BMI is so high. And for the second one is improving trajectory. Their BMI is similar as the stable high trajectory. But the prevalence of depression is much, much higher in this group. So it is possible that these people may have some health issue. So they try to improve their diet. So that's why they have, that's a speculation, but it's possible. So they have a much higher prevalence of depression. So for the stable high, the depression prevalence is in between, which is reasonable. So this one shows our main finding relating data quality trajectory and the cognitive performance over 6 years. As I mentioned earlier, we have 10 studies on cognition. So we have a test on global cognition and 9 tests, so that's a lot. 9 tests on cognitive domains. So the stable high trajectory is the reference group, so you won't see it in this figure, right? Okay, so when we're comparing the deteriorating data quality to the stable high, we found there's no significant difference on their cognitive performance. But however, in the improving data quality trajectory, we found that compared with the stable high data quality, their memory performance is consistent means what? Because all these tests are memory domain. They are memory domain, very consistently lower than those people in the stable high data quality. This is quite interesting finding. So furthermore, we want to figure out which specific data component is change over time and within each data trajectory. As we can see this figure, the left-hand side is the overall population. We can see actually overall and all trajectory, this is the fried food. The higher the score actually means they eat less. So all our participants actually eat very few fried food. The purple one is the fish ratio, fish to egg and the meat ratio. And this one goes down. So it's significantly goes down in the deteriorating trajectory and the relatively stable in the improving trajectory. And it goes down in the stable high. So actually on average, fish intake goes down over time for all participants. But for alcohol intake, it's actually really, really few in this population. So you can see that the score is very low for the total. But the decrease in the deteriorating, which means they probably drink a little bit and then gradually not drinking. But for the other two, the score is quite low. So they, in our population, in average, they are really not drink alcohol that much. So for the deteriorating trajectory, we can see that besides the other 3 components, besides these 3, all other components actually goes down over time. And in the improving trajectory, all other components like fruit, whole grain, and also soybeans goes up. For stable high, other components remain quite stable over time. So in summary, maintaining a stable high data quality trajectory over time is associated with a better cognitive performance as compared to the other 2 trajectories. So targeted interventions on food component maybe will be helped to promote and sustain a better data quality over time and may have a substantial impact on cognition. So future intervention study will be helpful to enhance cognitive function and should consider the relevance of the food component as what we just see, and also the subpopulation embed within the population. That is the three trajectory we find out. So they are actually quite heterogeneous in terms of dietary quality. So the Tigers, one of Tigers' goal is to advancing geriatric nutrition. So Tigers data, we actually carries longitudinal data on diet, cognition, and several other geriatric syndrome, including sarcopenia, frailty. We have some paper published, but today's topic, so I did not talk about. And importantly, we have interdisciplinary data with over 1,000 of variable, which allow us to explore whole person health. This is actually one of my goals. I'm thinking that many factors actually explain the health of the older adults, not just single one, not just a few, but it's a lot of different variable. So good news is this morning we got an acceptance letter from Alzheimer and Dementia, which is a leading journal of dementia field. We have a paper on retinal asymmetry, retinal, the eye retinal nerve asymmetry in relation to cognitive frailty. So based on Tigers data, we can do a lot of research, and it's interdisciplinary, which is quite important for older adults. And because our meticulous effort, Tigers data can, our research can achieve high internal validity and facilitate the exploration of novel topics. And despite our sample size is relatively modest, however, our data can still provide valuable complement to nationwide epidemiologic studies. So in the past 5 years, we have started to establish and maintain international collaborations. And last month, we just signed a 10-year research collaborative agreement with the Dementia Research Center at the Singapore Nanyang Technology University. And so we are inviting more and more collaboration in the future. So last, I'd like to acknowledge my lab with co-lead with Dr. Chen from National Taiwan University, and my collaborators and the funding resources from National NSTC. And I especially appreciate the invitation from National Health Research Institute and from Director Shi, so that we can introduce our research in this important symposia. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, for your very impressive talk. Thank you. And we have a QA from the floor during the Q&A. Okay.